Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, psychologist and Internet Matters Ambassador. I was thinking it would be great to speak a little bit about the festive season this year because it's going to be different. We're not going to have so much FaceTime. We're going to be far away many times from the ones we love. We're going to be spending more time online. And I think for those reasons, it's really important to think about how we can make sure we get our kids engaged. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to get your kids to make that family phone call. Now, we all know that it's really easy to get kids on technology to do other stuff, but when it comes to calling grandma and grandpa on the phone, I think a lot of kids feel awkward. I don't think it's necessarily easy for them. So I think the first thing that's really important to remember is to get them to understand the why, because when we have a why, figuring out the how is a lot easier. And that's actually true with most things in life. If you understand the reason behind a behavior that you want to engage in or you want to change, then kind of being able to do that is always easier. You don't see the barriers there in the same way. Now with kids, this can come down to sitting down with them and thinking about why it is important to connect, right? So it may not be something they've really thought about in a deep way. I think we're having these conversations this year with everything that's gone on, but actually the importance of connecting, of investing in relationships, of kind of maintaining that sort of communication with the people that we love is key, not just because it allows us to kind of keep abreast of what's going on, but I think in some ways it allows us to feel like we belong in each other's lives. So kind of really sitting down with kids and kind of eliciting from them why they think it's important to talk, why they think it's important to get the communication going, and then based on that, the ways that they might do it is really important. The second tip would be remove barriers. Now, we speak a lot about this in behavioral psychology. So when you want to change a behavior or start a new behavior, it's best to try and remove any barriers that are stopping you, so that make it difficult. So in the case of kids calling grandma and grandpa or the family, one of the barriers might be, well, I don't know what to say. And anyone who's kind of been in on conversations, knows how it plays out. Hi, how are you? Fine. How's school? Great. And then nothing. So one of the things that you can do is sit down with your kids and think about what they might ask grandma and grandpa. You just give them three topics to discuss, or three questions to ask. And I think in that way, one of those barriers, which is that awkwardness, is removed and it makes it easy for them to engage. My next tip would be to get creative. Now, while we can't have face-to-face time for a lot of grandparents and kids, one of the things that we can do is use technology in a way that we never used it before. For example, it may be the case that baking cookies together was sort of a favorite tradition of kids with their grandparents. Well, you can't do that necessarily. What you can do is set up a video call so that you're doing them at the same time. So grandma's cooking her cookies, you're cooking yours, you're decorating together, you're showing each other, you're laughing, and that feels that, while it might not be the same thing, at least there's that sense of kind of doing and talking, kind of being engaged in a more natural way. My other tip would be to kind of speak to the kids about the importance of kind of having sort of deeper talks, longer talks, and it might be great to kind of try and practice this. And I think this is kind of a useful tool regardless. I think it's so easy to kind of speak in short sentences and not engage necessarily deeply, and that's understandable all the time. But actually, it's a wonderful skill to have, to be able to kind of keep a conversation going. So it might be something that you practice around the dinner table. So getting them to speak, for 5 minutes about, something that they're interested in, and thinking about that again when they connect to family members, right? So, when grandma asks how's school, how do you get a solid sort of 2 minutes out of that rather than just having that kind of 1 word or 2 word answers? The more they practice, the more comfortable they'll feel doing this and the easier it'll come. Another important thing to remember is to schedule these calls into their day in a time when they're likely to feel relaxed and comfortable, and also when they're likely to kind of expect it, right? So you might say, great, after you come home, and you have your snack, and before you kind of get on to play your game or to do your homework, let's do the call then when you feel good about it. And, I think in many ways, sort of preparing, kind of, setting their focus on the idea that this is going to happen kind of will mentally and emotionally make it easier. And I think finally, and perhaps perhaps sort of most importantly, be reflective. So once they've had that call, ask them how it went. What was it like speaking to grandma and grandpa? Was it weird, like trying to bake cookies or, share, pictures that you'd drawn over, over the phone or over your computer? What was it like? Was it nice? Did it feel good? Did you feel close to them? Did you feel closer to them? What was different about it? Getting them to reflect is really important, as it'll in some ways make them feel, I think, A, more connected to the experience as a whole, but B, hopefully they'll get to see the benefits of it. I really hope these tips help, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. I hope you're able to connect and have those sort of meaningful discussions with the people you love.